There was a great disturbance in the Force, a growing tide of change forming far beyond the Jedi Council and the spires of Coruscant. We all feared an unthinkable war, and I could not help but wonder at the losses yet to be suffered. This is a record of one of those losses. His name was Shen-Jon, a powerful Jedi Master and a good friend. He was also my Padawan learner. His last story as a Jedi Knight begins on Geonosis, a place in history that holds the end of many of our order. Shen-Jon and his Padawan, the eager Stam Wraith, were among the many who we had sent to secure the rescue of Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Senator Padme Amidala. But none could have foreseen the ambush that awaited. With the brutal execution of his Padawan, Ichu slipped into a deep depression. The Council was concerned, for we sensed a darkness in Ichu that I had not thought possible. But these were desperate times. I instructed him to return to Coruscant, while the Jedi Council convened to make its plans for the war to come. But Ichu didn't always do as he was instructed. Weeks had passed since our bitter victory on Geonosis. We had expected a counterattack, but it was still a surprise when it finally came. Using our own technology against us, one of Dooku's generals, a warrior named Severance Tan, advanced on Serapin, the chief energy collection center of the galaxy. We learned later that Tan had stolen our secret weapon being developed by the Wookiees, the Decimator. Severance Tan needed to be stopped. I made the judgment that this was an assignment suited to Ichu. In a hasty vote, the Council elected to assign a new Padawan learner to Ichu, Nat Wraith, Stam's sister. Looking back, this may have not been the wisest choice. It was no secret amongst the Council that Severance Tan had been the instrument of Stam Wraith's demise. We hoped that Ichu would funnel his need for revenge into a desire to do good in the name of the Council, but I may have been fooling myself even then. Although Ichu and Nat seemed filled with a newfound energy, I was skeptical as to whether these feelings belonged to the light side or to the dark. Zeon Finis, the captured Confederacy officer, had pointed Ichu to Tatooine, an outer rim world that was a nest of outlaws and pirates. The Hutt cartel was not a group to be trifled with, and somehow I knew they would be involved with the Confederacy in their treachery. Reluctantly, I gave Ichu and Nat the go-ahead to pursue the Confederacy further. Master Yoda had foreseen that someday a powerful Jedi would deal with Jabba the Hutt. But for now, we must maintain a working relationship with his ilk. Through his tactful negotiations, Ichu learned that the Confederacy had established their own decimator facilities on the secluded planet of Krant. That would become his next destination. The signs were all there. Why didn't I see them? Was I so blind to our purpose that I let it get in the way of better judgment? By now, I was beginning to suspect that Ichu was letting his emotions get the better of him. Emotions that could very well lead him to the dark side. A disturbing turn of events had occurred in Ichu's quest. Soon after arriving in the Krant system, strange signals were received from the supposedly abandoned moon of Areen. Ichu discovered an illegal Trade Federation mining operation on Areen. General Tan had decided to secretly use the colony to supply the new Confederacy decimator facilities on Krant with a constant source of raw materials. Ichu asked for permission to invade Krant, but I cautioned his actions. It was evident that his judgment in this mission was becoming clouded. After consulting with the Jedi Council, I ordered him to first establish a base on Areen and to subdue the Trade Federation miners. This would establish a foothold in the system from which we could further assess the situation. I sensed a hesitation in his communication as he agreed. Ichu was accomplishing every task that the Jedi Council asked of him. He was becoming a general that the Confederacy feared. As he grew in power, I knew the dark side would also be growing stronger in its temptation. I knew my old friend would soon be tested. Areen had been captured in the name of the Republic. This provided Ichu's forces with an excellent jump point for the invasion of Krant. I learned, too late, that the dark side had already established a firm grip on Ichu by this point. It had been fueled by his hatred toward Severance Tan and had invaded his being like a terrible disease. Only Nat Rate was vaguely aware of these changes, but she was in no position to stop her new master. She only sought to avenge her brother's death, and was unaware that the corruption had touched her as well. Not suspecting how deeply Ichu had been compromised, I convinced the Jedi Council to approve a landing on Krant. If anything could have secured Ichu Shen-Jon's turning to the dark side, it would have been the death of his second Padawan. And this was nearly at hand with her capture. By now, he had ceased his communications with the Jedi Council completely, and we all feared the worst. The tale of Ichu Shen-Jon's final confrontation with Severance Tan was a precursor for the painful news to come from the various fronts of the Clone War. Without assistance or guidance from the Jedi Council, Ichu drew upon the hatred that had entrenched itself in his soul, and set out to rescue his Padawan. Gathering his remaining army, he hatched a plan to destroy Severance Tan. The path he had chosen unfolded before him. For the remainder of my days, I will wonder what happened on Krant. I will wonder just how far the dark side had invaded Ichu Shen-Jon's being before he disappeared forever. When I spoke to Nat Rate about her master, she masked her feelings. Was she concealing something from me about his fate? I will never know. But for the record, Ichu Shen-Jon lived the life of an honorable Jedi, and gave himself selflessly to save his Padawan and to protect the Jedi Council and the Republic. In the final reckoning, he will be remembered with respect and counted as a hero of the Clone Wars.
It had been a long, hard road, but we were finally ready to invade the imperial capital of Coruscant. Admiral Akbar ordered the fleet to blockade the planet in preparation for a ground assault. Following a cocky maneuver by Rogue Squadron, the planetary defense shields had been knocked out. We had one specific target we needed to take down in order to declare victory: the Imperial Palace. Once the home of Emperor Palpatine, it now stood as a monument to his terrible reign. The remnants of the Imperial High Command had themselves holed up in the palace, with the bulk of the Coruscant Defense Forces. General Tal Ashen, a slick Imperial tactician, was in charge of the palace. I knew we needed to take him out to win the day. So I put General Rand Taylor in charge of the invasion force. He had proven himself a worthy officer in the rebellion, and he knew Tal Ashen's tactics. Plus, he had a personal reason to be down there. Years earlier, his wife Kath, an Alliance operative on Coruscant, had been captured. We all hoped she was still alive. Luke was right about the Force being with us that day. Seeing Rand and Kath reunited reminded me of why I got into this war to begin with. With the seat of Imperial power under Alliance control, it would only be a matter of time before we could all finally live in peace, free from the bonds of tyranny.